From ancient burial grounds to the mummified remains of the previous owner, we take a look at the 10 creepiest things ever found in people's basements.
When Helen Weisensel of Jefferson County, Wisconsin began digging in her basement whilst renovating her house, she made a gruesome discovery. Weisensel had uncovered the skull of a child along with a wide assortment of other human remains. She notified the local authorities, who discovered that her house was actually built on top of a long-forgotten burial ground. Experts estimate that the cemetery could have been up to 170 years old and may have contained the remains of hundreds of people. Weisensel had to cease all work on her renovations until she could get approval from the State Historical Society. After 15 months, the state finally gave her permission to continue the renovations and seemed content to continue living on top of a now disturbed gravesite. In 2016, a repairman called out to a suburban home in Lansing, Illinois, got a nasty shock when he ventured into the basement. After spotting movement coming from a large container, the repairman lifted the cover to discover a 6-foot-long, 200-pound live alligator staring back at him. He immediately called the authorities, who questioned the animal's owner, Charles Price. Price claimed that he had kept the alligator as a pet for more than 26 years and that he occasionally took it outside to roam around his backyard. Price reportedly obtained the alligator from a swap meet when it was just a few centimeters long. He was charged with unlawful possession of an endangered species, and the alligator was removed by the authorities. His neighbors had no idea that he was keeping the animal in the basement of his house. From the outside, Hanny's, located in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, appears to be a normal restaurant and bar. When a Reddit user found their way into the basement, however, they posted this creepy photo of what they saw. Like a scene straight out of a horror movie, creepy dolls have been arranged along a large table, just like the famous painting The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. The building used to be an old department store, but no one knows who set the dolls up or the reason for such an eerie scene. It looks as though someone has thrown coins onto the table, perhaps as an offering to appease the unsettling dolls. In 2016, a construction worker discovered a 100-year-old Ouija board buried within the walls of a house he was working on. He noticed that it had been placed upside down, leading some to speculate that the person who hid it may have done so to protect themselves. Had they contacted something sinister from the other side and hid the board in an attempt to break contact? The construction worker posted a photo of the board on Reddit, where he was warned by many readers to leave the Ouija board where he found it. In 2010, 2 women made an awful discovery while cleaning a basement in a Los Angeles apartment building. Inside a trunk wrapped in newspaper from the 1930s were 2 mummified infants, along with several pieces of Peter Pan memorabilia, including the book Peter Pan written by J.M. Barrie and a membership card to the Peter Pan Woodland Club. In a weird coincidence, the owner of the trunk was a nurse by the name of Janet M. Barrie, the same initials J.M. Barrie as the famous writer. DNA tests proved that the infants were Barrie's children, but why they were stored away in the basement of an LA apartment remains a mystery. The truth may never be known, as Barrie passed away in 1994. In 2013, a group of Ohio State College students began hearing strange noises coming from the basement of their off-campus house. In addition, the power kept going out on the 3rd floor, and someone had to venture into the basement to flip the circuit breaker. The residents also began noticing strange things around the house. Drawers were left open and lights were mysteriously turned on. On one occasion, one of the students saw a mysterious man in the basement. He said his name was Jeremy and left the house before he could be questioned further. Thinking that the house was haunted, the students ventured into the basement to investigate. There was a mysterious door that was always locked, and none of the residents had a key to open it. After hearing more noises coming from the basement, the students decided to call their landlord as well as the police. Together, they pried open the door. Inside, they discovered a room with a bed, photos, and a TV. That's when the students realized that the man named Jeremy that they had seen previously had been living in their house without them knowing. Once his room was discovered, the mysterious man packed his belongings and left. In 1998, conservationists performing repairs on US founding father Benjamin Franklin's London house made a rather gruesome discovery. In the basement of the house, located at 36 Craven Street, they uncovered the remains of more than 15 bodies, 6 of whom were children buried in a secret windowless room. It's thought that Franklin wasn't hiding the evidence of a horrific crime but may have been covering for a friend. William Hewson, Franklin's protege, was running an anatomy school at the time and was probably using the residence to dispose of the remains. In the 18th century, human dissection for the purpose of anatomy was still ethically frowned upon, and so students had to acquire specimens illegally. This included paying grave robbers to dig up the remains of the newly deceased. In 2009, Ben and Amber Sessions purchased a home in Rexburg, Idaho. Soon after moving in, they began finding a large number of snakes in the backyard. It wasn't long before the couple, who had already had 2 children and a third on the way, began hearing strange noises in the wall and under the floor. They also noticed a funny taste in the water that Ben described as onion-like. Ben decided to investigate the sounds by removing a panel of siding. To his horror, dozens of snakes came pouring out. The couple sought the advice of a snake expert who informed them that the onion-like taste in the water was probably a result of the musk that the snakes release when they're frightened. One day while watching TV, Amber saw a story about the previous owners of her house and how they had fled due to the horrible snake infestation. The real estate agent had resold the house to the Sessions despite knowing the awful truth. Discovering that it would cost more than $100,000 to have the nest removed and a concrete slab laid under the house, the Sessions had no choice but to file for bankruptcy and move out. In 2015, police raided a home in Heikendorf, Germany after they suspected that the villa's 78-year-old owner was in possession of illegal weaponry. Stashed away in the basement of the villa was a cache of weapons that included a torpedo, anti-aircraft gun, and a 1943 Panzer tank. Prosecutors received a tip-off by authorities in Berlin who had previously searched the villa for stolen Nazi artifacts. While it took the manpower of 20 soldiers to remove the tank from the villa, the discovery came as no surprise to the local mayor, Alexander Orth, who had told a newspaper that the owner was chugging around in that thing during the snow catastrophe in 1978. In 2007, a man named George Giro purchased a house in the town of Roses, Spain. A local bank had repossessed the house from its previous owner and put it up for auction after they had failed to make their mortgage repayments. When Giro entered the house, he was shocked to discover that the previous owner was still there. She had passed away some years ago and the salty seaside air had preserved her mummified corpse. Bizarrely, in the 6 years that the previous owner's mortgage was outstanding, the bank never sent anyone to the house to investigate. Equally as baffling was the fact that the real estate agent hadn't bothered to check the condition of the house prior to auction.
Well that was a little bit creepy. Now let us know down below in the comment section, would you spend the night in any of these creepy basements? Also, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button just there, because we have content just like this coming out each and every week. And that's it for me, I'll see you all next time. Pew!